People want the Flash sauce.
Fedora proposes going flat.
Gedit is no longer maintained.
And the Raspberry reaches a new milestone.
Oh, yes.
All right, let's go. Welcome back to Linux Weekly, Daily Wednesdays, sitting back, taking that midweek break, talking about some of the fun things that we found going on. I'm Ben Stone, joined every week by this man over here.
Why, hello there.
This one, Pedro Montes, still using the LTE, man. How's the how's that holding up for you, man?
If I could convince the fine people at Sky to actually come to my place and hook up the phone line properly, I already have the router. They already sent it to me. So, yeah, you just need to come and set it up. Come on, guys. Please.
Nah, man. Just give it a couple more weeks. Over here, not doing too much, but I did pick up a few of these little guys. What I'm holding up is the UBS stereo adapter from Vantech. And on the back of the box, system requirements actually list Linux.
Mm-hmm.
Picked up two of these critters for the show, and they seem to not be on fire. So I think I'll definitely take
Have you used them in production yet?
No comment until the end of the show.
Again, the correct answer.
Yes. So, hey, man, somebody else is talking about some correct answers. Well, actually, man, they think they have the correct answer, and that answer is open sourcing Flash.
That's just a bad idea, and everyone knows it. It's just that some people haven't realized it yet. The story, this particular one, comes from Gizmodo, but it's been all over the internet. Seriously, just type Flash open source. There's tons of stories. Everyone's got their own take on it. And basically, it's everyone reacting to the fact that, as we mentioned last week, Adobe is killing Flash by 2020. So people are saying, okay, so if you're going to kill it off, give us the sauce. Let us fix it. And that... oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Let's open source it, reveal all of its shortcomings, the dirty hacks, the security pitfalls, and who knows what other fudgery Adobe loaded it with over the years, because this is Flash we're talking about. Just the moment they open source it, their stock price is going to drop. Every single website still using Flash is going to crash, burn. In fact, everyone who's using it before the community...
Wait. Let's think about it like this. Would you be open to Flash getting open sourced after it has been completely eradicated from the browser ecosystem?
If it has been completely eradicated from the browser ecosystem, at least to any significant degree, maybe, yes. But the way it currently still stands, even in its dying state that it's been in for the past, 5 years, it is still very much a golden goose for ill-intentioned people on the internet. I say, in my opinion, let it die, burn the corpse, bury the ashes, salt the earth it was buried in, then grab a bulldozer, take that patch of land, and push it into a volcano. And just to be sure, ask Divine Providence to send a comet down into that volcano to make sure it's dead.
I absolutely. This is one of those rare examples, ladies and gentlemen, where Pedro and I both have valid points. And it's kind of terrifying. But what I'm really thinking about is, what about all of the exploits currently in use?
Yes, the ones that most people don't know about. Those would be immediately known by everyone or almost everyone. So it would be even worse. It would make that even worse before anyone could fix them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, we're talking about two-decade-old technology that...
yeah.
Even its creators like, put it down. But, no. We'll see. I mean, we're not going to know anything about it. And it's Adobe. Adobe's not going to do anything when it comes to open
Of course
source.
not.
No.
They're making way too much money out of the creative suite to do anything.
Okay, what do we have coming up next?
Up next, it's dead. It's dead, I tell you. Well, not exactly. It's Gedit. It's no longer maintained. And this, I kind of have to agree with Joey from OMG Ubuntu, because He says, he starts the article, it's like, Gedit is the default text editor on Ubuntu and just about a bajillion other distros. I hate the word bajillion, but did you know that it's no longer maintained?
I hate to stop you. Yes. I winced when I read bajillion as well on that one. Yes. Okay. As you were.
And he kind of answers himself and says, I didn't until a reader mentioned it to me earlier today. Yeah. Turns out that there are no active maintainers for Gedit. Now, to be fair, that's not saying much. Consider, okay, everyone's used Gedit. Chances are, if you're using Linux, unless you've had a really KDE-centric experience or a really XFCE-centric experience, at some point in your Linux usage years, you dealt with Gedit in one form or another. So chances are you've seen that doesn't really need a whole lot of work. Sure, if someone finds a major bug or security screw up, it would be nice to get it fixed, but I'm willing to bet that even though it doesn't have any active maintainers, should that happen, someone's going to fix that. They probably won't become active maintainers just because they fixed it, but they will fix it.
Yeah, it's one of the things, man. I was looking at this and reading through. It's like, yeah, if anyone wants to pick this up, get ready for the nightmare fuel that is absolutely going to be part of your life for maintaining. Get it? But yeah, it's definitely a baked piece of software. This is everyone's, I need something to type something in your first Linux experience for most people, not everyone, because I know it's Vim, no, Emacs. We're not talking about that.
Nano, just Nano.
I use Gedit all the time for writing notes, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I remember the first time I pasted something, I was like, this thing does syntax highlighting. Done. We're going to be using this. I personally find myself using LeafPad a lot more nowadays, but I mean, what's your favorite text editor these days?
I've always been partial to Kate. I'm one of those. But I actually, when I first started using Crunchbang on the first netbook I had, was an Asus EEE 1005 HA, and the default text editor was Genie. I really like Genie, but I never really brought myself to install it unless it was installed by default. So yeah, it's mostly Kate nowadays.
Okay, so let's see. Coming up next, people have a particularly risky idea.
Yeah, to say the least.
All right. This project is going to create Linux laptops based on, we're not making this up, PowerPC. What is PowerPC? Say it again. Its name again is PowerPC. The first two things, we got a new group that appeared with a goal of creating Linux computers based on PowerPC architecture, currently raising money, and are in the early planning. The question is, can they pull it off? And if they do, will it be worth it? So, yeah, here's the thing. To answer the first two questions posed in that article, one, probably not. And will it be worth it? Nope. It absolutely won't. If they pull this off, Pedro, if they pull this off, I'm kind of feeling that this would be the equivalent of a really big the Pandora gaming handheld console? It would be like a big version of one of those. It would be an
oversized.
What I mean by that is something that's wicked cool, very neat piece of kit, but ultimately too small a market for it to exist in any meaningful way.
Oh yeah, this would be an absolutely niche thing if they could pull it off. According to the article, there are currently 4,300 euros out of the 12,600 euro goal. That's a really low goal. You're not going to be able to do much of anything with just 12,000 euros.
They just want to build they just want to build the motherboard right now.
Okay. Yes. No. Power 8. Yeah. No. Actually, speaking of Power 8. In the age of the Raspberry Pi and the modularity it offers and the amount of shells, laptop-shaped shells with touch pads and keyboards functional touchpads and keyboards included that you just slot your Raspberry Pi in, make the connections, and it's working. Why? Why are you making a PowerPC laptop?
See, this is where I don't want to say anything negative, because somebody comes up to me like, hey, man, we really want to do a PowerPC. That's kind of metal. All right. I could dig that for just this is my PowerPC laptop. And it's like, oh, that's cool. This is my clamshell MacBook that I bought for $4 on Craigslist. It's PowerPC too. What'd yours cost?
Yeah.
It's a good idea, but, and here's the thing. Yes, reading through the article, like, yes, using IBM's Power Architect, that's not for desktop, sweetheart. That's not coming. What we will be seeing, I don't want to say in 10 years, because then it sounds like I'm talking about battery technology that's always 10 years away. I'm going to say within 5 to 7 years, we're going to have some type of ARM solution on the desktop that won't make it feel like you are sacrificing too much to get a full system. And a lot of people are trying to jump the guns. They want to make the integrated, take your mobile, dock it, boom, and Bob's your uncle, and all that. And, currently I already have an ARM laptop. It just doesn't have a keyboard. I call it a tablet.
Most of everyone does.
Exactly.
Shield tablet.
So,
and it's while you're at it, just make a laptop that's powered by RISC-V or Power 8 while you're at it too.
See, there's a problem there. When you say that, man, I'm just like, yeah, that'd be cool.
Power 8 laptop. Okay, admittedly, the neat factor on that would probably... The price would deter me completely, because you'd be looking at a $10,000 laptop that gets outperformed by a $200 Chromebook, at least in what it can run. But yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Power 8.
Well, I mean, not crazier things, because I definitely have a Sun Microsystems laptop with a Sabre architecture chip in it. So,
yeah.
I mean, those things have definitely happened before. What do we have going on next, man?
Up next, we have things that make you go crash, namely not having any swap in your box. So, yeah, this is a blog post by Hayden James. He talks about why you should almost always add swap space, or here's an improved title, why you should always, drop the almost, add swap space. It's really, it's a discussion that every now and again you'll go into whatever Linux group you frequent, be it online or in real life. People are talking about swap and how much swap you should have, and what it's actually used for, because there's a lot of people who don't know, especially if they're new to Linux. So Hayden James actually gives you just a basic rundown of what swap does and why it's really neat. And then he goes into detail into every single advantage and most of the use cases where swap will often save your life. Not to mention those applications that, even though you have a lot of RAM, which most people do nowadays, you still could use that bit of swap.
Oh, yeah, you absolutely could. I mean, the first thing out of the gate, I remember learning way back in the dark ages with the early Red Hats and the Slackware, like, whatever you have for memory, double it. And it was like, that wasn't hard, man, because that was like, okay, so 32 megs. It wasn't that big, but hey, man, it's not way back in the dark ages anymore, because it's 2017 and storage is cheap. HDD storage, that's great. Even SSD is still cheap. NVMe, it's still a little pricey. But here's the thing, Pedro. I mean, it's not like you get awarded extra Penguin points for not having swap enabled, okay? You don't get anything sent to you in the post. You don't get an extra gold star. You don't get a cookie. No, what you do get is your box dying a horrible quick death when you have something with a massive memory leak. Looking at you, Chrome. Looking at you, Motorbike. The game Jordan was all about that, because we have a recording of his box crashing. While he had 16 gigs of RAM and I had 8, I was able to identify the problem before I went poof. But he does do a really good job pointing out that, the Linux kernel itself actually likes having swap, and it will improve your box's performance.
Yes, it does.
Yes. So,
even if it's on a really slow hard drive, because It's the writes that those processes do in RAM are so small that even a slow hard drive can more than keep up with it. And yeah, you will get better performance with it because the rest of the system can be using the RAM at will, and those teeny tiny bits are just getting cached in and out of the swap space. That's useful. And okay, sure, maybe you don't, if you have 16 gigs of RAM, you don't need 32 gigs of swap. Usually 8 will be more than enough.
I mean, it makes a very good point. I mean, a lot of people might have been curious. You crack open top, you crack open HTOP, you see like maybe you're using like 1, maybe 2 gigs of RAM, and something's written like 100 megs to your spot partition. That's what the kernel's doing. It's looking for it. It's making use of it because that's what it likes to do. And that's definitely a thing. Hey, man, the High Council of Asgard, a project that he assists with on every Freyr. I believe he's been on the show once or twice, hasn't he?
Yes, Frezzo. Yeah, we had him on. We had him on a
Wednesday show that we do.
Yes, it was. I was trying to remember exactly when we had him on.
We were talking about MusicBrainz, MetaBrainz, but this is ListenBrainz, Pedro, which I brought up during the interview. Yes. I said, man, I can read one of your blog posts from MusicBrainz and have no idea what the product is and or what it does. And man, they are true to form with this one. Help me understand it.
Well, ListenBrainz is similar to Audio Scrobbler. If you don't know what Audio Scrobbler is, I don't blame you. I didn't either. Now, Audio Scrobbler is, according to their website, a database that tracks listening habits and does wonderful things with statistics for Last.fm. It's the Audio Scrobbler is the Last.fm proprietary database for, listening habits, makes pretty graphs with the stats it gathers, everything else. ListenBrainz is the same thing, but it's open. It's from the MetaBrainz Foundation. We, like I said earlier, we had Frezzo on. He did talk about MusicBrainz for a little bit, and ListenBrainz doesn't actually let you hear music. It gathers data on what people hear, and if you're someone who's really into stats for some reason, you can compile all that data and make some pretty graphics and make some pretty wild assumptions because these many people listen to this and these many people listen to that, and you can see the overlaps, and you can sort of...
If we're in an elevator and you're explaining this, I've already broken the glass and jumped to my death. So if you could summarize it in like a sentence, man.
It's the open version of Audio Scrobbler.
All right. See, I can work with that. But now what are they doing with this? They have some Last.fm integration, right? So
imports. This is part of the group of people that are working on ListenBrainz. Some of them have Last.fm experience, and this will provide MusicBrainz with that same functionality that Last.fm does. So it'll give you better recommendations to music you would like to hear. Say you have your library all categorized in MusicBrainz. This will help you do everything, I guess.
Seems legit. Okay, we had a little bit of news this week that came up with the graphic stuff. Now, it's OpenGL, and they have a bunch of things with extensions.
Oh, yes. They have many, many extensions that are not currently associated with any point release or any OpenGL spec release.
Ooh, Spear V support. Sexy.
So they are actively trying to solve that, while at the same time bringing in new functionality through new extensions. And this is the big one. They are providing with OpenGL 4.6, you can use Spur V shaders, that's Vulkan shaders, with OpenGL. That's really neat. Remains to be seen what it will actually mean for applications and games using OpenGL 4.6. You don't even get all those many games using OpenGL 4.5. So we will have to see. Probably Feral will try and do some odd implementation of OpenGL 4.6.
That's kind of one of my questions. With the 4.6, and you have a very great point with a lot of games not using 4.5 right now. And that's kind of ignoring the Spock in the room, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because my first thought was like, okay, well, all right, let's be fair. There's something only like 9% of current mobile devices can support Vulkan.
But the rest of them don't use OpenGL specifically. They use GLES.
GLES. Will any of this be transferable? Or
honestly, they don't mention GLES at all in this post that I saw. There are a bunch of shared extensions between OpenGL and GLES. Of course, there are similar APIs, and one is built off the other, so of course. But they don't actually mention... they do mention one with sophisticated graphics applications will also benefit from a set of newly released extensions for both OpenGL and GLES to enable interoperability with Vulkan and Direct3D. And they give you the list of extensions that actually let you do that. So that's a thing. I missed that when I first read it.
Yeah, it's the only thing. I think we're going to have to track down somebody smarter than us and bring him on the show to explain. Because I'm kind of reading over this and I'm looking at it. It's like, are they trying to maybe help people get from point A to point C with this? Like a transition type?
It could be, or it could just be, say you already have something that's working in OpenGL. It would be a massive undertaking to change it to Vulkan. Mm-hmm. And okay, maybe you don't want to do all of that, but you want to use SPIR-V shaders. All you have to do is upgrade the OpenGL implementation you do have to support the 4.6 spec. Boom.
Do you have to install Windows 10?
No. No, this isn't DirectX 12. This is OpenGL.
All right. Up next, Krita. It's the art editor. It's kind of like GIMP if it had GIMP with a usable interface. Ooh, shots fired. I love GIMP. I've been using it since forever, man. Hey, the foundation actually had a little bit of a trouble. They kind of messed up on their taxes because hashtag VAT, man. They ended up with like 19,000 euros. They owed the tax, man. They wanted them all. And, they were able to work it out. They definitely were able to work it out. But this post kind of explains, that tax bill was massive. They were able to get it reduced. And what kind of caused this, what lit them up in the beginning, was, yes, they were, a non-profit, but they were also selling instructional books and stuff like that. But they managed to get it split out and they got everything set up. They're like, okay, we're still around. That cost us a lot of money and don't worry about it. But, they made this post. When did this come out? This was yesterday. So today, they had a little bit of an update, man. The private internet access company of companies bought some goodwill with the Linux community and the open source community. They've sponsored Krita to the tune of £20,000. And the project picked up 9,562 euros in donations as of yesterday. And it looks like everything is back on track. They're looking at the release of Krita 3.2 soon and 4.0 later this year. And man, I'll tell you, it's always good to get a chance to report good news. Even if it started with bad news, because 24,000 euros, that's a pretty fat stack to pay for slight mistake in the way you label your company and the way you handle business. But then again, I'm not into the whole financial side, but they managed to negotiate it down to 15,000 euros, and then the accountant that helped them do that billed them for 4,000 euros. So that's how they ended up with the 19,000. But good on the guys from Private Internet Access for helping Krita. It's basically, we got you covered. There you go. Boom. It was also a thing, and now they said, hey, no one worry, because we're using the same wicked expensive tax people that the Blender Foundation are using. So.
Yep.
That's, man, taxes, international taxes, stuff like that. That's just nasty business. And, they don't care if you're a nonprofit organization. They just want their money because, I'm government man sent by the government. Right.
And it was multiple governments because they are a Dutch company and the developer they wanted to pay, was, Russian. So there was, in Russia, there is no VAT, or there is VAT, but there was no VAT for what he was doing specifically. You would never have to pay VAT. And it would have been fine if they were completely non-profit and they didn't offer those educational videos and books and whatnot. But they did. So the government man found a bit of a loophole to nail him with, 15,000 euros.
You just never think about like the Dutch doing that. You assume like when you think of a Dutch tax person, you're like smoking a pancake, and they're all friendly and stuff. But yeah, they got audited, man. They came after him. I don't know, man. Probably something to do with he who shall not be named. We're not quite out of the woods yet because Flatpaks. Nope, Flatpaks, baby.
Oh, yes. Before we get to Microsoft, we do have to talk about the Flatpaks because Fedora is actually... Let me see if I can open that link. No, I can't.
Flatpak and Fedora 27. Check it out. They want to do it. It's a proposal. It could be a welcome addition. I mean, it'd be a good way to see... Ultimately, what I think it really would be is a good way to see how RPMs and Flatpaks get along together if they can move and chill out in the same house. That said, concerns have been raised about Flatpak distribution, channel, how they're going to distribute it, and the sandboxing, the security issues, air quotes around issues with Flatpaks. All I'm seeing, Pedro, is ideological differences over packaging formats turn out to be ideological because Vesco has unanimously approved this proposal.
Yeah, that's actually something you don't see every day, and it has been approved. It's going to be a thing. And if the whole universal package is going to become a thing, like Jono Bacon suggested a few weeks back, like Steam or Valve not so subtly hinted at with introducing Flatpak support for SteamOS, like everyone's been shouting, use Flatpaks if you just want to distribute something that will work regardless of distro. And here we have it. We need all the big distros to actively start adopting Flatpaks from default, obviously. And yeah, it's okay. Some of the issues they brought up, especially the sandboxing thing, it makes some sense because, okay, sure, RPMs don't have any sandboxing of any matter. They're just a glorified zip file that when it expands itself, it extracts itself to
I just want to take a minute. That's Pedro at linuxgamecast.com for next week. Okay.
Yeah, when it extracts itself, it sends all the files to the correct folders and pulls down all the necessary dependencies for whatever bit of software is in that package. Sure. The Flatpaks, they're different because they include everything that the software included inside needs to work. And okay, sure, some libraries will already be in the Flatpak runtime, but it's a self-contained so long as it doesn't use any system libraries at all. Everything is contained within the Flatpak. That's a good sandbox. Mm-hmm. But there are things which they can't really work like that. Like, say, video games. If you have a video game, you need at least one library which you cannot contain inside the sandbox, which is the library that interacts with your graphics card. That needs to be a system library. So right then and there, you're breaking the sandbox. Now, sure, you don't hear about video game exploits a lot. Well, we did have one a couple of weeks ago with the Source Engine, but outside of that, one can make the argument that Flatpaks are a very good means of distribution for video games since they're very complex. They require a bunch of different libraries, but you would always need libgl on the system. It would need to access the native libgl.
Pedro, do you know what's a very good way to distribute games?
Through Steam?
There you go. See, that we just solved a problem. LGC cares. I'm kind of looking at it like this. This is what Fedora is meant to do. Fedora was always, let's get the bleeding cutting edge stuff that is going to break, get it out there in the wild, get it tested. Now, admittedly, that is the Fedora of old. Because last time I installed Fedora, it just installed.
Everything works. Yeah.
It just
weird.
I was a bit disappointed. I kind of sat down, had my popcorn ready. I was like, okay, let's make this. And I was like, oh, man, that's boring. Anyway, Flatpak, I will throw my weight behind hoping. Well, there's no hoping. Flatpak's already won. All right. Mm-hmm. The universal, I'm not saying it's ever going to see wide adoption or we're ever going to actually pull this off, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. But when it comes down to like Flatpak, whatever, app image, Flatpak's won. Game's done. Over. And maybe we can start making some progress and moving forward. Vin at linuxgamecast.com if you would like to send me some lovely mail. But before we get out of here, as Pedro mentioned just a little early, is Windows.
Yep. Well, in this case, it's Linux on Windows. It's the very inappropriately named Windows subsystem for Linux, which, now that Strider isn't actually here on voice anyway, he is in Shetworld, I will agree with him, but only now, because he does have a point. It's not a Linux... Well, it is a Linux subsystem for Windows, not a Windows subsystem for Linux. If you take the semantic meaning of that sentence, then you're basically describing wine. So, yeah, that's neither here nor there. Just a little bit of a rant. The news here is that the WSL is out of beta, and you can get it on Windows 10 if you use Windows 10, or if you're forced to use Windows 10, probably for work. You can just get the WSL the moment the what do they call it? The creators update goes live.
Yeah, man. They're going to take off the beta flag when the fall creators update comes out. What is it? Maybe you're like, okay, Pedro just said a lot of words. Didn't make a lot of sense. I don't know. What can you do with this menu? You can run your Linux command line tools for development, basic system and stuff like that. You know, you don't have to deal with like DOS prompt or what CGI win. A couple of things you can't do. Your Linux files are not accessible from Windows. They are. They used like capital NO for this on their webpage, on their web zone. No current plans to support GUI apps, desktop servers, etc. ... at this time. He says. Maybe question.
I mean, at this point, you have to question its usability at this time. But yeah, no, it'll be nice to see. Just
what are you talking about, man? Think about it. We don't need a Wayland. It's Microsoft's going to release its own X server-ish type thing.
Microsoft's what do they call the old Windows 7.1 Arrow or Metro from Windows 8 or whatever they call the Windows 10 one?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Listen, I'm glad these tools are in existence because I know a lot of people personally and people who watch the show are stuck currently right now in the sound of my voice on Windows boxes, administrating that, and this makes their life slightly easier, you know?
Yeah. If you are stuck with Windows at work and if my predictions are correct, I will probably in the not too distant future be that person. This is a way for you to have a familiar command line prompt and ameliorate the fact that you're still stuck with Windows. So, yeah. But yeah, this, besides the whole mind-blowing aspect of Microsoft providing a Linux subsystem through the official store, actively supporting it and advertising it, this is a good thing.
I think it's a good thing. Do you know something that I feel very grateful to be stuck with?
Lovely, lovely people giving us money.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yay!
Hey, man, if you want to support the show and you've been thinking about it, head over to linuxgamecast.com, hit that support button. We got a bunch of ways to do it. We have Patreon. That's awesome. That's a great way to get some value back for what we do if you find this is entertaining. Got some early access, some new videos, a custom RSS feed for your own private show that nobody else gets to listen to but you. Affiliate links. I want to scream Balmer like developers, UK, America, Canada, and Space France. click through that. That's all you have to do. Go to Amazon. You're going to buy everything anyway. We have the Amazon wish list of some stuff we would like some help with building out the new studio. That's great for everyone who's kicked in for that. Thank each and every one of you. And of course, the PayPal donate buttons. Oh, and Bitcoin, because I've been told by every news outlet, every major news outlet that's funded by the government, they've been telling me all week that Bitcoin is dead. It's destroyed. So you're not going to. They're worthless, Pedro. Just send them all to us. We have a wallet. It'll be brilliant.
Yeah, you if you saw anything about news that said that Bitcoin actual shot up in value when Ethereum dropped, just ignore that. That's fake news.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had the whole split that happened yesterday or something with Bitcoin Cash and all that. Yeah. That's too much to get into, but we can convert those coins. We're not going to save them if you've been sitting around going, I need to invest. No, we're going to spend them and buy stuff to make the show better. But let's thank some beautiful, beautiful party people that kicked us a few shekels this week, man.
Indeed. Mr. Rando Corinthian kicked us some wet stinkies through PayPal. Thank you. We have a new Patreon. Yes, Mr. Olerin. I'm assuming that's how your name is pronounced. If not, let me know. And Casey. Casey increased his pledge. And more than that, Casey is awesome. Because as you may know from last weekend's Linux Gamecast Weekly, I had issues redeeming a certain game from a certain bundle that Ven gifted me. So
you weren't on the show last week. So what we were explaining is, the bundle came out and Pedro just blew a bunch of money moving to this island for some reason, right? After I managed to get off, he just like, I'm going to head over that way. So I was like, yo, man, I'm just going to, let me just yoink Pedro a copy of this because it's got a game in it that we wanted, and it was one of those things. I sent it over, man. And Pedro rings me up and he's like, girlfriend, check this out. And I'm like, what? Look at the screenshot.
Can redeem the game at the UK.
What? And Humble's like shrug emoticon, deal with it. So Casey was kind enough to kick that VPN so you could hack the planet. Yep. And,
I basically took a trip down to the pub. Casey had already sent me a message on Twitter. It's like, yo, here is the VPN. Got to the pub, told him, okay, gimme. Set up the VPN, activated the game on Steam. Told him, okay, you can stack the VPN credentials now. He did, and I got back into Steam, and the game downloads just fine. Humble, on the other hand, zilch. Contacted their support, nothing. Days have gone by, and they have said nothing.
But we do have the game. But thanks, everyone, making this possible.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you, Casey.
All of you. I mean, we're averaging I don't know what the magic moon word is, but it's always between 500 and 800 audio downloads every single week. And I'm lowballing on the 500 because I want to be safe. That's cool. Let's talk about pie.
Yes, we do have a couple of bit of slices of pie this week.
So, earlier this week, I saw somebody thinking, hey man, you know what? I want to make a retro 486 gaming box. And after I immediately ran to the loo and vomited, it's a reflex reaction. You can't really help it when you hear somebody talk like that. I grew up cutting my hands on those sharp pieces of nope. I have no love for it.
I remember having to change autoexec.bat and config.sys in order to be able to run Doom and Doom 2. So no, that wasn't no hardware. Okay, no. Maybe you didn't grow up with it and you want to do it for like the retro thing and all that. Go for it. But if you're just looking to emulate something that can do the 486 stuff, Raspberry X86. It's a project originally based on, I think it was for the, DS X86, DS game emulator. What can it do? Trust me, it can give you all the headaches, almost 100% of the same headaches as setting up a 486 in 2017. It's capable of emulating ballpark 20 megahertz 486. So, what's a 40? That would be a 40 megahertz. i386. Doesn't say whether it be SX or DX. Joystick, you got it, 2 COM ports, MIDI interface, keyboard, Sound Blaster.
and you can just throw that business on your Pi and get everything done. So
yeah,
I would suggest taking it here before you went the other way.
Yeah, it turns out you can actually run 16-bit, Win 16-bit games reasonably well on it, which I did not expect. But yeah, it's when you first posted this and I had a look at the blog, it's like the last update that they made was from 2015.
Mm-hmm.
So then you actually put it in the notes. Oh, right, yeah. Someone was talking about building a 486. Don't use the Raspberry Pi. Use our Pi x86.
Well, in all fairness, there haven't been major leaps in advancements in 486 emulation technology since 2015.
Yeah, fair. But they could, instead of just limiting it to 640 by 480 with 256, maybe get some of those 16-bit color games working as well.
Well, I think our second bit of Pi is more of just a celebration
More
of
Pi.
sorts. Yeah.
Just a lot of Pi, because with 14 million Raspberry Pis sold, 10 million were made in the UK. Yep. So Sony UKTC, the technology center, they were contracted a while back to produce Raspberry Pis. To make them, literally. And the 5 years ago, their contract was for 10,000 units per year. Today, it's churning out about 15,000. So that's a pretty decent uptick, and considering how they're mostly out of stock, the Zeros, the Raspberry Pi 3s, the Zero W's.
Listen, man, Pedro, it's their own fault. They keep making things that are way too cool and way too cheap, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's the mark of success right there. It's like, oh, it's a really neat project and everyone wants some of it. Yeah. So they keep selling them like hotcakes, and they keep making them like hotcakes, and 10 million of which were produced by Sony UK Tech. Yeah.
That's awesome, and it's the most popular British-made computer in the world.
It is.
Yeah. So
it's at least the highest selling one.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm definitely good on that, and I say good on them. Keep going with it, because all the knockoffs, and they keep trying, but you still think Pi, and plus you want to give Pi the money too, because they got this ball going, man.
Yep.
They
targeted the exact right niche. It's like those people who have children and they would like to get them into tinkering, or just big, huge nerds that have some free time on their hands and they wanted a tinker board so they could do something with. For those people that just have a monitor lying around their place, and they just grab a teeny tiny board computer, shove them inside the case of the monitor, and look, it's an all-in-one. That works too. Yeah, they did really, really good, and hey, they're very, very successful.
It's just a neat piece of kit. But we're about to wind this down. Put a bow on it, as they say, but if everyone wants to get in contact with us, maybe they have some questions, because we have a question this week, which actually kind of two questions.
Yes.
How do they go about that?
Well, you can go about that several different ways. If you see any of us on the street, you can ask us there. Chances are we won't remember when we get home, so it won't get featured on the show. So if you'd like to have your question actually featured right here, right now, linuxgamecast.com, you hit the contact button, make sure to pick LWDW from the little drop-downy thing, fill out the form, it's pretty easy, and send us your message. Send us your hints, thoughts, allegations, things better left unsaid, or disparaging remarks about our family members.
Pedro, I had an interesting email thing.
You did.
Just earlier this week. That's how things are different now, because you wake up and you check your inbox. Like, oh, look, unsolicited Steam keys for a video game.
Yes.
You just really want to be able to, like, phone, like, 12 or 13-year-old yourself and be like, dude.
One day you're just going to get free video games on your email. So,
right.
What's email?
So, okay, coming up first, man, Cam Diggs, yeah, all right. He wants to know, man. He's like, yo, Linux, learner here with a serious question. Okay, this is our air quote serious show. Tune in Saturday if you don't want any of this nonsense. Everyone says Linux doesn't need an antivirus. It should be an. Sorry. An antivirus. Shouldn't I run something ? Recommendations ?
Recommendations? Well, the thing with antiviruses and most software of that ilk is that they are meant to prevent infection by drive-by. It's those automated things that certain other operating systems do that make
Wait a minute. I thought most antiviruses were to defend against you, the user. Being stupid.
You see, there is no antivirus for that. Well, there are. Actually, if you set... What was it called? Avira? If you set it to paranoid mode, it will actively fight you on everything you do. But yeah, most antiviruses, what they do is they protect you from those automated just infections that would happen without you, the user, doing anything. And that's a problem in those other operating systems that have a lot of automated stuff happening in the background, which is not the case with Linux. Linux is still very Unix-like in that most of everything serves one function, and chances are the user is aware of it, or should be, because most distros nowadays have some degree of automation to them. No one wants to, when they first hit
I just did a Google search. Turns out that Komodo provides a free protection Komodo antivirus for Linux.
Yeah, well, there is Komodo, there's ClimeAV, there's actually several different antivirus programs that do run on Linux. And it makes sense because, say you're trying to recover someone's machine who was infected by viruses. What operating system do you load up on your teeny tiny flash drive and just fix their system? Linux. Makes sense. But yeah, it's if you want to be really safe, even if you do, say, go into shady websites and you do some gnarly stuff that will likely get you a virus on Windows, you will still get that virus on Linux. It might not do much of anything unless you give it root permission.
It probably won't do anything at all. Listen, Linux is not invulnerable. Macintosh really thought that until Mac became a large enough surface area to bother spending the time to attack them on. That's a true story. If you're coming over to Linux from Windows, yeah, people want things like what were we talking about, the like tools and Windows registry cleaners. They look for analogs of stuff like that, and that's not a good idea. Don't run as root. Make sure your router's set up logically, and you should be good. Because Wine doesn't go to those websites. Wine doesn't do a good job of running viruses, so I don't think you're gonna have to worry too much about it. Last but not least, talking about DaVinci, Nick wrote in on the YouTube video. We made a little instructional video about how to get the DaVinci Resolve from Blackmagic to get their video editor up and running. And he's like, hey, mate, thanks for the video. Can you help? Okay, I'm getting errors starting. There are no CUDA cores detected. I'm running a GTX 780 with the NVIDIA driver 37582. First, I'd update that. And I've downloaded the CUDA tab from the website, followed instructions to the letter. Running Elementary OS Loki. Thanks in advance. I see a small problem.
Well, Elementary is basically Ubuntu.
Yes,
they have some differences, but it's basically Ubuntu.
Okay, you keep using this word that is the small problem. Basically. Because if it was, if you can't say was, that would have worked. Yeah, man, here's the thing. I don't say this in a mean way at all, in any way. You're not going to install just stock Ubuntu, which is in the title of the video that says, okay, this is how you install DaVinci on 1604 LTS. You're not going to install that. I'm not going to install Elementary OS.
Something just occurred to me. Yes, you made that for an LTS.
Yeah.
They are running Elementary. which is
You
probably
see, Pedro, I love it when you just defined what basically meant. You did it. You did it, buddy.
Yeah, it's probably running more up-to-date libraries and would explain the CUDA mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could very well be it.
That could be it. Hopefully you've checked out this show, and that's something you might want to check out. I'm not going to be updating that guide until I build the Ryzen system, which then I will be running 17 whatever. And it'll be a thing. Then maybe you'll know. But then again, I'll be honest with you. If I was going to be doing anything other than launching DaVinci Resolve, if I was just like, oh, I got it to run, look, I put a video in it and I'm done with it. If I was going to be doing work on it, install CentOS like you're supposed to and use it, because that's what I would do.
That's pretty stable, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I think that's going to do it. This is going to get us out of here. It's been brilliant. It's been fun. Thanks, everyone, for supporting the show and showing up, checking us out live, and all that fun stuff. Come check us out Saturday, where we do our gaming show, our big, super massive, like, wow, how'd this thing get so big type show. It is fun. We always have a gaming segment after that where we actually spend the time to hang around and get everyone in the community involved and come game with us. If you want to talk to me, at Vinstone on Twitter, you can just type Vinstone with Google, and you'll find me there.
I am Pedro Mateos. You can find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter and plus Pedro Mateos on Google+. Seriously, google.com/plus Pedro Mateos. When I first realized that you could use that as a short for people to find you, that's like, yeah, google.com domain. Hey.
And don't run just yet, because here come the credits.
Look at all those people. Look at them.
Beautiful party patrons. That's how you put your name in the credits for all time. And you're like, oh man, what have I done? I made a horrible financial decision.
Yes, what have you done, Ben? Because we're going to get to a point where we'll have to sit here and talk waffle basically for 3 minutes until the credits go away. Or 4. Or 5.
That's fine, man. We'll come up with games. And listen, I'll slowly start reading War and Peace. It'll take a few years to get through it, but I'll see how much I can read through every credit.
Or you could just ad-lib Naruto Shippuden episodes.